Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Ruben Amorim is given an impossible ask, I think. That's the news this morning. They're demanding European football. Is that too much too soon? We're talking, not even talking Champions League, we're talking 6 or above. This is coming in from Sky. Also, encouraging news around a midfielder. Petty Goal is retweeting a tweet. Conor Gallagher's been linked to us in January. Some encouraging things about Shea Lacey. And I also want to just start off, this is going to be like getting some petrol and tipping it on a bonfire. So I don't know why this is a thing, but it ain't happening, right? I know you can twist stats however you want them to, but this is complete and utter nonsense. And my theory is it's coming from Amorim outers trying to justify how they can come back, having been so vocal about being Amorim out. So you know what I'm about to say, and I'm absolutely against this, but this is a community and you can get your comments in. But apparently Amorim outers are now doing articles and videos explaining why they're now Amorim in, because he's listened to them and changed the system. He hasn't changed the bloody system. He hasn't changed the system. If you're looking for tweaks, oh my God, just own up. You're back supporting Man United. You're back supporting Amorim. Stop trying to justify that you are some tactical mastermind and Amorim has seen your bloody tweet from 3 months ago and changed his system. He hasn't changed his bloody system. He's been tweaking his system for years. He's been tweaking his system at Sporting. He's been tweaking his system at Man United. The problem he's got is that he now has players that can play his system better. Like Onana wants to play out from the back. Lemens will boot it long. Sesko can hold the ball up. Rasmus couldn't. Garnacho and Rashford and Anthony ain't Cunha and Mbeumo. These are the tweaks that matter. He's always tweaked his system. You know, when I look at it, I just look, let the debate run in the background. We'll come to it. But I don't know about you, but I just find it hilarious that people are trying to make out that since the international break, since we've played bloody Liverpool and Brighton, there's some massive change in the way that Amorim is approaching games. There bloody isn't. There factually isn't. There tactically isn't. There really isn't. What's happening is confidence is growing and players are becoming more familiar with each other. And we have a goalkeeper that's giving more confidence to the team and everybody is getting more used to each other. And we're winning games where we were losing games. Maybe Liverpool we might have lost. If Gakpo hadn't hit the post twice and not missed a sitter and we'd lost that game, do you think people would be going, you know what? I know we've lost 3-2 to Liverpool, but I'm back Amorim in now because he's tweaked the system. The only reason people are talking about tweaks of system is because we're winning games. And because we're winning games, some people feel, shit, this might be the start of something. I need to be Amorim in. How do I be Amorim in when I've been so vocally Amorim out? I know I'll say he's tweaked the system. He hasn't tweaked the bloody system at all. I mean, if you want a bit of facts, I was doing some research here on Y-Scout this morning. So let me start off with, well, let's do average pass length over the last over the last few games. So against Brighton, the reason you do average pass length is because are you playing small little tiki-taka passes or are you going longer? So against Brighton, our average pass length was 18.5. Against Arsenal on the opening day of the season, it was 19.5. So those passes are slightly longer. Granted, against Liverpool, it was 21 metres because obviously we were going a lot longer than that. Long passes per 90 average, 10% against Brighton. So 10% of our, per 90 were long passes. Liverpool, it was 16%. Obviously, we're away from home. Against Arsenal, it was 12%. On the opening day. So we were going we were playing more longer passes against Arsenal on the opening day than we were against Brighton last week. What about passes per possession? 4 Arsenal, 4 Brighton, 2.7 Liverpool. Again, Liverpool away, we're going more direct. We're not keeping the ball, we're going more direct because it's Liverpool away. Sunderland, 4. What about possession? What about our possession across the season? Well, we had less possession against Arsenal at home than we did against Brighton. We've had low possession all season. There's only, I think there's only Burnley and Grimsby and Brentford where we've been over 50% possession all season. So these themes have been there all season. It's like people are going, we're going more direct now. we're going more direct now. The last couple of games over the international break, he's listened to all his Amorim outers, and he's gone more direct. He's definitely going more direct. He's listened to the feedback and he's tweaked his system and he's gone more direct. And now, because we're playing long ball, I like it. Can I just shock you? I'm a tactical TikToker who loves brilliant football, but I just know Amorim's listened to me. He's listened to me and he's going long ball now, which I've always liked. Can I just shock you there? I really like long ball. We've been doing it all bloody season. We've been going more direct all season. The reason we're going more direct, because Bruno's in the fucking midfield. Casemiro's in the midfield. Casemiro never takes a touch. He moves the ball really quickly. I said this last season because we did it last season. Casemiro in the midfield, he doesn't take a touch anymore. He moves the ball first time. He was doing it in the Europa League last year. And the reason he does that is because he's slow now. And if he's slow, people get on him. Watch Casemiro against Forest at the weekend. He moves the ball quickly. We're moving the ball quickly, and we were doing it last season. Bruno wants to hit a bloody Hollywood pass. We are going more direct. We were going more direct the minute we put Bruno in the midfield. Did Bruno start in the midfield against Anfield? Yes. Against Liverpool? Yes. Was that his first game in the midfield? No. What's happening is we haven't done a tweak. We're just getting more used to each other. And he's got better players for his system. The big change in Amorim was the pre-season and the transfer window. And his new signings are getting more used to his system, and his old signings are getting more used to his new signings. There's no bloody tactical tweak in the October transfer window, in the October international break. It's a nonsense. There will always be game-to-game tweaks. You will always be able to go, well, look, this is what we did against Brighton that we didn't do against Arsenal on the opening day. I don't think Sesko played on the opening day for a start. So Sesko gives you the option to go really long. So it's not tactical tweaks. It's summer signings. But there's multiple things going on here. I tell you what a bloody tactical tweak is when Solskjaer is shitting himself because he's about to lose his job and he plays a back five against Spurs away. That's a tactical tweak. Amorim's not changing his system. Amorim's not changing anything. Players are just getting more used to his system. And in certain games, we'll play certain ways. And against Liverpool, we hardly had the ball. We went massively long ball. But why not? But against Brighton, we played very similarly to the way that we played against Arsenal on the opening day. And the stats show that. If you compare possession, long balls against Arsenal on the open day and Brighton, very, very similar. So what's the tactical tweak if we were doing it on the opening game of the season, apart from players becoming more familiar with it? But open the debate up, because the reason I mention it is because there's just so many people talking about it at the moment, and I just don't get it. There's an obsession to say he's tweaked something, and it's just so obvious that the people saying this are the people that were going, he's rubbish, his system's rubbish. Anyway, let's get into the topical stuff. We can come back to that. I just wanted to set it up as a starter for 10. So let's start off with a couple of things coming in this morning in relation to, I think it's coming in from Rob Dorset, who works for Sky. Manchester United have set their sights firmly on bolstering the engine room with a new defensive midfielder topping the to-do list. Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton and Carlos Baleba are among the names being weighed up as potential anchors. The club is expected to make its move in the summer rather than in January. I don't like that. I don't like that as a piece of news on a Wednesday morning, because waiting till the summer is a very easy thing to say when the club's on the up. But the last time I checked, we weren't in the top 4, we weren't in the top 5. We still have to make improvements. And Manchester United ignoring a January transfer window is a major red flag as far as I'm concerned, especially when the second part of this report says that, where was it? That was the, oh God, I can't see it. Ruben Amorim is aiming for European qualification next season with Chief Executive Omar Barada and Director of Football Jason Wilcox. 1 minute. Sorry, I was getting interrupted there when I stream every morning at 10 o'clock. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Ruben Amorim is aiming for European qualification. This is also from the same article. Ruben Amorim is aiming for European qualification next season, with Chief Executive Omar Barada and Director of Football Jason Wilcox likely content with a top 6 finish. I think that... Well, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, first of all, it's a double report. One of it saying that we are going to go for a holding midfielder, but it will be in the summer transfer window. And the second part of it says that Amorim's aiming for European qualification next season, with Chief Executive Barada and Director of Football Jason Wilcox likely content with a top 6 finish. I think those two things go hand in hand. To be honest with you. I really do. I think that with regards to how you can say we'll be content with a top 6 finish if you don't give him a midfielder in January, I don't know. Ruben Amorim has to aim for European football. I completely agree. But if you don't give him a midfielder until the summer, how can you say we'll be content with top 6? I mean, there's so many if, buts and maybes attached to that, in the sense that if we finish 6th and we don't get in the Champions League because we didn't buy a midfielder in January, how can Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox sit there and be content? If we finish 7th and we haven't bought a midfielder and we don't get into Europe, and they're going to sack him because they won't be content. And I think all these things for me are, totally, go hand in hand. And I think this is what I was talking about it last night. It's just so dangerous in a period of positivity to be, looking at it and saying that. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking here. Basically, it's a kitchen project. I'm being asked about a mirror as a splashback behind the kitchen. What do you think? What's your general thoughts on that? So the kitchen's coming towards the end of it, and behind the cooker, there's a mirror as a splashback thing. Now, I'd normally go with tiles or maybe a stainless steel panel, but in the design, it's a mirror. And I'm like, I am very vain, and I could practice my shows whilst making a spag bowl, but I don't know. I don't know about a mirror as a splashback. I mean, I don't know. We should run a poll. It's a mirror as a splashback behind your cooker. I mean, some of you bloody peasants probably don't do cooking. You should be cooking. It's not hard. Watch Cooking with Goldbridge, but the mirror would get dirty. Savage says tiles, clear glass, not a mirror. Clear glass, yes, that could work. Mirror is terrible. I have it. Not as a splashback. Nice piece of granite. That would be a nightmare to keep clean. Tiles, defo. Yeah, tiles, actually. I'm going to change. Chat saying nightmare to clean. Yeah. Yeah, loads of people saying no. Okay, we'll try and make a change on that. Okay, so yeah, anyway, as I was saying there, I need a sip of tea. Calm down. Project manager bridge. Mirrors are for ceilings, says Pat Bot, not for cookers. Chat says no. Computer says no. Please share the video and smash a like. So yeah, I think with regards to the top 4 and the Champions League or the Europa League or the top 6, which would make the club content, I actually do agree that this has to be Ruben Amorim's aim for the season. I think now that we're living it, I want to pose that question. If Amorim finishes 7th, I don't think he gets sacked, but I think there's a lot of people very unhappy. And we must remember that on Saturday night, we were 4th. By the end of Sunday, we were down to 6th. And that's because Chelsea and Liverpool lost. Like, we could have been back down to 8th again. It's really competitive. And you can be 4th and going, we're back. And then you can be like, oh shit, we're not back. We're down to 8th. So look, it might be very different in the latter half of the season, but right here, right now, there's probably not going to be that much of a difference between 4th and 7th. So if we miss out on European football and finish 7th, I don't think Amorim gets the sack, but I don't think you can say we're going to buy a midfielder in the summer and we want European football this year. I don't think that works. I think you've got to go, we want European football this summer. We're going to give you a midfielder in January because we didn't get you one in the summer. So I don't like that update because it's saying United in the summer are going to go for the big midfielder they want, but this season they're content with a top 6 finish. Well, no bloody Man United football club should be content with a top 6 finish. No, just because we finished 15th last year doesn't mean you can go, we're content with 6th. There's an opportunity to go and get in the top 4. Massively opened up over the last few weeks, but we have to be building to do that. And experiencing what we're experiencing at the moment is quite a novelty. I definitely think that one of the other tactical tweaks that nobody will bloody talk about, and it's so obvious to me, and the hipsters ain't going to talk about this. How's about we're doing, nobody's mentioning this one, I'll take the credit for this. All these bloody tweaks about tactical tweaks and, analyzing stats to make them work. Do you know on Y-Scout, by the way, there's about 100 different stats, team stats, before you even go into players. So if I want to try and pretend that Man United have made some big tactical switch, I'm bound to find two or three things that'll prove it. It's a load of bollocks. But also, if we're talking about tactical tweaks and all this nonsense, what about this one? What about this one? What did we say? And I said it, but I'm going to say we say. What did we say at the start of the season? For Manchester United, it will be around game week 10 before we really click. Because on game week 10, you've had a couple of months for the new signings to get used to the Premier League, to get used to Amorim. You've had a couple of months for the older players from last season to get used to the new players. You've also got European football is on game week 3 or 4. And therefore, we've had 3 or 4 weeks where we're not playing midweek football. Add into that, we've had a couple of Carabao Cup rounds as well where we're not playing. We've had over a month now of not playing midweek when everyone else has. So by now, your players are getting used to it, your systems, etc. But you're also a lot fresher than everybody else. And that's going to continue between now and Christmas. That's not a tactical tweak. That's being fresher than everybody else. And is that not a thing? Are we not going to acknowledge that that's a thing? Because I think it is a thing. I really, really do. And I think it's a big thing. So when I look at what's happening at the moment, it's a novelty because we have that freshness. But I don't think I could put up with it next year. I don't think I could put up with this every year. Oh, we're not in Europe. We need to be in Europe next year. We can't be like this every season. Financially, it will kill us, but we can't be like this every season anyway. We can't just sit here and go, oh, it's great playing 1 game a week. The whole point of it is that Brendan Rodgers Slippy G season. You go from nowhere to a title race because you're not playing midweek. We absolutely, evidentially have to turn not playing midweek football into European football, especially when we've got multiple players on over 150 grand a week. We have, I'm not buying into this bollocks that we're overachieving. We're not overachieving. We've massively underachieved for a very long time. Amorim must be given patience and time and resources to build what he's trying to build. But when you deep it and you look at Manchester United, am I wrong to say that what we pay in wages and who we are, we should be in Europe next season? But I still think, you can bake a cake and not buy eggs, and the cake will be horrible. Someone's going to give me a recipe for cakes without eggs. And I still think in January, I think what I'm trying to say is European football and recruiting a midfielder in January go hand in hand. European football and not recruiting a midfielder till the summer jeopardizes European football. So I'm very wary of those messages, especially when they're in the same article, that United are going to wait until the summer to bring their midfielder in. And Amorim and Barada and everybody will be content with a top 6 finish. I think you jeopardise and endanger a top 6 finish by not bringing a midfielder in. However, moving the story on a little bit, what I am encouraged to say is that Spanish reports this morning are talking about Conor Gallagher leaving Atletico Madrid, and Manchester United are referenced again. So I'm hoping, and I know I'm holding back the tide a little bit here against you lot because you don't necessarily want it to happen. But I'm not saying Conor Gallagher is going to answer Manchester United's prayers. What I'm saying is, if you give me Conor Gallagher today, I'll thank you and I'll give him back at the end of the season if he's no good. We are struggling in the midfield. We're doing okay at the moment. Casemiro and Bruno are doing very, very well, but it wasn't that long ago where people were very concerned about that, and it probably won't be that long in the future until we're very concerned about it again. The backup isn't really delivering. Agate for a £50 million midfielder isn't delivering, and Mainu isn't delivering either. Now, maybe that's to do with Amorim, maybe it's to do with them, but I would welcome, I'd love an 18-year-old from the youth team to come through and be the next Roy Keane tomorrow. That would be amazing, or the next Paul Scholes, but it's probably not going to happen. So if we could get Conor Gallagher in January, I would say that's it. If somebody said to me now, what do you want to do in January? I'd say Conor Gallagher, and that's it. That's it. Do what you like with Xerxes and Mainu, keep them, loan them, whatever. Give me Conor Gallagher. I reckon we got a chance, because he'll come in ridiculously hungry. And what I've seen this season, and we're seeing it with Luke Shaw, and we're seeing it with Harry Maguire, they've got an outside chance of getting into the England squad for the World Cup. And we're seeing it all over Europe and all over the Premier League. Players are desperate to get into World Cup squads. And that is so stupid of Manchester United if they aren't. I mean, it's almost like you need to recruit someone for your business, and there's somebody who has got the most motivation you're ever going to see. They're so motivated, they'll literally work more hours than they need to because they're desperate for money or whatever like that. And and they're good at their job. Get them in. It's a no-brainer. This won't be the same next year. Like, we could literally bring a midfielder in January and say to them, if you do well, we might sign you permanently in the summer. And if you do well, you might get in the England squad. I mean, it's just a no-brainer, and United need to be looking at it. So I really do hope that there is some truth in it, because I just want us to not mess this up. I've seen it before where we don't do enough in the January transfer window. The most annoying update from Manchester United normally drops around November, December, where they go, we as a football club don't value the January transfer window. We work really hard on our summer transfer window, and that's where we focus. And then the summer transfer window comes around and we absolutely fuck it up. And you go, liars, you're bloody liars. Let's talk about, what's your obsession on proving Amorim out as wrong, says Tabby. No, I don't have one, mate. What's your obsession with taking it personally? I don't have one. My obsession is not an obsession. This is a community of conversation and debate. And anybody who's got their ear to the ground knows that a lot of people at the moment are talking or debating about a tactical tweak from Amorim that's never happened. What I'm doing is saying it hasn't happened. You can always find little things that are different, but he hasn't changed his formation, and he hasn't changed anything from the start of the season, because he was doing everything the same at the start. What's clearly happening is certain players are getting more used to his system, and the team is getting used to each other, and confidence is inspiring that as well. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White was literally talking about it. I know we're playing them at the weekends, but I'm sure I can find it. Gibbs-White was talking about it. I don't know why Gibbs-White's been talking about it, but he said this. Man United in the last 4 or 5 games are really starting to click. The grit and determination to want to play for the badge is incredible to see. And I feel like it's something that the league has missed. I mean, we're playing Gibbs-White on. I mean, you don't normally see that sort of stuff, but we're playing Forest on Saturday, and Gibbs-White's glowing us up. So, I think that people are starting to see that. Certainly. So it's not an obsession at all. I tell you what, I can't understand people who can't hold a conversation. Like, we literally do an 8 o'clock show every night, and my hair's a bit jelly today. We literally do an 8 o'clock show every night, and for the last few nights I've been saying, have we got any Amorim outers that dare to tell us why they're still Amorim out? You're very welcome. Don't try and turn this community into we hate Amorim outers, because you're in the wrong place, mate. Go and watch the bloody Disney Channel and the other shite that turn all this bloody, I'm Amorim out and I hate him. Oh, I'm back now, I'm cooking. I'll get a pair of sunglasses on. Fuck off. Child's play. We don't do that over here. We have a grown-up conversation. If you're Amorim out, I actually respect you if you can tell us why you're still Amorim out. All I want is for you to come back. Come back. You're welcome. But don't try and make lies up about Amorim's changed the system and he's listened to you, because he hasn't. Or at the very least, nobody agrees with you that he has. Certainly Amorim, the people that wanted the manager to do well are not going to acknowledge that he's changed the system and you can come back off that, because he hasn't. Just factually hasn't changed it. He's been trying to do this all along. I saw somebody the other day say, watch Casemiro closely. He doesn't take a touch on the ball now. He moves the ball so quickly. I'm like, please go back to last season. We were talking about this in March in the Europa League. He was doing it then. I specifically remember doing shows talking about Casemiro in the Europa League. He may not be able to do it in the Premier League anymore, but look at him in the Europa League. He gets the ball and he moves it really quickly. Apparently, it's a new tactical tweak now. As Lazy says, glass or metal backsplash is the most practical. Tiles are nice, but cleaning tomato sauce from the ground is a motherfucker. Yes, okay. Well, maybe a mirror is a good idea then. I need some help on this. Constantine says, how important is the FA Cup for us in the grand scheme of things? I think it's very important, Constantine. I do. I think it's very important because it's a pathway into the Europa League, I think. I think the FA Cup's the Europa League. So, yeah, it is, because Crystal Palace are in the Conference League because they got demoted down from it. So the FA Cup's really important because, and nobody wants to talk about the FA Cup in October, but like, we're not in the Europe, we're not in the Carabao Cup. We have got loads of capacity in the second half of the season, and we've got loads of players. So the FA Cup is massively important, and we must take it very, very seriously. Also, if the competition for places between 5th and 7th are really big, and you finish 7th and you're not in Europe, or you're in the bloody Conference League, which I don't want to be in, then the FA Cup does give you an opportunity to finish in and get a Europa League spot. And also, it's nice. I'd rather win the FA Cup than finish 6th, So, yeah. I think the club's trying to lower expectations for the season, says Alfie. In what context? I don't know. I think you're maybe answering something from a few minutes ago, but I think the club's trying to lower expectations for this season. In what way? Because I think top 6 would probably be, in fairness, I think if we'd said top 6 at the start of the season, I think a lot of people would have said that's a good season. I pitched this between 5th and 10th. So I think if we get top 6, Amorim survives. I just think that there's a big correlation between buying a midfielder in January and getting European football. I also don't think that I'd be very surprised if 5th place is Champions League football and 6th place is Europa League football. I guarantee you the difference in points is going to be really different, really close, really close, like fine margin. Emily Derry says the article gives the impression of complacency at executive level. Why should we be content with 6th? Not saying we need to win the league, but aim as high as possible. Yes, absolutely. Hey, and contextually, Emily, as well, let's not forget that we don't know the context of that article. We don't know the context of that conversation. I would say that a top 6 finish keeps Amorim comfortably in a job. European football keeps him in a job. I would say anything below that puts pressure on him. So the club saying that they'd be content with a top 6 finish, you can understand. But if I was Jason Wilcox or Omar Barada or Sir Jim Radcliffe or Ruben Amorim today, and somebody said, we'd be content with 6th place, I'd say, why would we be content with that at the moment? The door is opened up to such a big opportunity. I sit here after 9 games and say there's absolutely no reason we couldn't finish 4th. There's no reason. With the right consistency and additions in January, there's no reason we can't. We've already beaten Chelsea. We've already beaten Liverpool. Our next game against Liverpool's at Old Trafford. Why would you not fancy us there? So, Chelsea, Stamford Bridge, Sunderland have just been there. Newcastle aren't even near us at the moment. I think that you've always got to be adaptable in life and in football. And I think at the start of the season, I would have said 5th place will be very difficult. Right here, right now, I would say 4th place isn't impossible, because the way the season's playing out, it's pretty. I mean, look, I'm living game to game, and I think Amorim's living every game to game, and I think you are as well. And I look at Forest at the weekend, and we will win. I mean, if we don't win that game, I'll be very disappointed. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I nearly said COVID. VAR, hit the post 60 times. You can't guarantee we're going to win, but I'd be disappointed if we don't. They're in the bottom three and they're playing crap. Villa are playing well and are playing Liverpool. Then Man City are playing Liverpool. So I'm looking at, and Chelsea are playing Spurs on Saturday. So I'm looking at Saturday and I'm going, 3 o'clock game against Forest. We win, which I expect us to do. Spurs and Chelsea can't both win. So that's an opportunity to either go past Spurs or open up a bigger gap on Chelsea. Villa and Villa and Liverpool can't both win. Again, it's an opportunity to move ahead of both if they draw or one if one of them loses. So I'm sort of looking at this position that we're in, which is a good position. And I'm looking at the weekend and I'm going, there's another great opportunity there presenting itself. Slazy said the biggest tweak is starting a goalkeeper that does the job, is trusted by the defence, keeps the team calm and able to focus on what they're supposed to do. Well, did you not? To be fair, Slazy, that's not a tactical tweak, is it? That's a summer signing. And that's sort of what I was talking about. And I do agree with you. I think that the summer signings are not tactical tweaks. And, the point I'm making, I think a lot of people are making is that there's this myth going round that Amorim has done something in the international break in October. Amorim sat there going, I'm getting absolute pelters here. What are all the hipsters saying I need to do? And I've done it. He hasn't done that. But changes are happening because in every game you change things. And the changes that are clearly happening are signings. Like Lemens has made a massive difference in goal. Sesko, when he plays up front. I mean, look, the tactical, if you can find things that are different from Fulham, Arsenal, Burnley, compared to Sunderland and Liverpool and Brighton, well, one thing that's very, very clear is that against Sunderland and Brighton, Sesko started, and against Liverpool and Arsenal and Fulham, and I don't think he started against Burnley, Sesko didn't. So there's one thing straight away that makes a big difference to how you play, having a 6'4" striker. Also, Onana sort of did an interview this week where he had a thinly veiled pop at Man United players, because he basically was talking about how Pep Guardiola has always shouted him out. And he was basically saying words to the effect, I analysed the game. I don't know if I've got the exact quote here. I might have it. If I have, it just makes it a lot easier. But basically, Onana was saying, when I get the ball, I analyse the game and I'm looking at options on how to pass it. But you need the players to be able to do it for you. As I always say, most of the time, it's my teammates who give me the option when I'm building up the game. If they help me, the work looks much better. So basically, Onana's saying that, I'm analysing everything and I know what I want to do, but the players need to be there helping me. Is that a dig at Man United or isn't it? I mean, Lemens will just blast it long to Sesko. He won't go, and also, that's such a simplistic point as well, isn't it? I need the players there so I can play out from the back, etc. The problem with Onana was not the playing out from the back. I very rarely saw people moaning about Onana playing out from the back. It was your inability to get down on low shots. It was your volleyball palming it back into play. It was your inability to, collect crosses. It was the total and utter panic on the face of your defence every time they look behind them. It was like it's like lying on a lilo on holiday and you look behind you and there's a bloody fin coming towards you. It was terrifying. So look, as I say, I agree with Slazy on that. Tabiso says, I'm 7 minutes behind you. I told you the Amorim outers were doing this. They are snakes in the grass. No, look, there are people doing it. Some people just can't accept that they're wrong in life. It's their I told you so FC. I mean, look, as I said yesterday, there are people in the Arsenal fan base who are Arteta out. I mean, because basically, I was talking to Terry about this at the end of last season, and he was showing me some clips of Arsenal fans, and they didn't win the league, so they were Arteta out. He's an idiot. He's the wrong man. I mean, there are Arsenal fans who are Arteta out. I can't. I can't believe it. And some of that will be because they can't accept that they need to change their mind or whatever. But please understand, I haven't got a problem with people who are Amorim out. I just don't hear much from them anymore, because I see some of them trying to clamber back by pretending that they've listened. Amorim's listened to them, and he hasn't. He hasn't changed anything. A lot of the changes he's making were here in the summer already, and he was trying them at the start of the season. People are just getting more used to them. I mean, you know what? Let me just put it like this. Compare the Arsenal game to the Brighton game. Nothing is different. Nothing is different apart from Lamens and Sesko. We're doing exactly the same things. The amount of long balls are exactly the same. The amount of passes per player exactly the same. Liverpool was a standalone game because you're at Anfield. It was ridiculous. No game compares to Liverpool. We hardly had the ball. We boot it long. That's what we did. But Sunderland, Brighton, Arsenal, they're all very similar in the way that we set up and the way the stats play out. And you know what? It's only because we've beaten Liverpool and Brighton since the international break that people think there's been a tactical switch. We should have beaten Arsenal. We should have beaten Fulham. We'd have had 3 wins in a row. So why is these 2 wins in a row any different to what is basically a team that's more confident and more used to each other? It's what we said at the start of the season. It will be game week 10 before this team starts moving. And it's actually happened a couple of weeks before, which encourages me that we might get better and better. Familiarity breeds confidence, but you've got to have the patterns and familiarity, and that takes time. But I don't see any difference between Manchester United in the opening few games and the last 3 games, apart from we've won the last 3 games and we only won 1 of the first 3. There was a drop off in the middle. You know, the Brentford game wasn't great. The Man City game wasn't great. The Chelsea game was a bit weird. But Arsenal, Fulham, Burnley are very similar to Sunderland, Liverpool and Brighton. Brighton would be Fulham, Arsenal would be Liverpool, and Burnley would be Sunderland. But because it was the opening few games of the season and we were a bit rusty, we should have won them first 3 and we should have won the last 3. But we weren't ready to win the first 3 because we didn't have a goalkeeper. Sesko wasn't ready. Cunha and Ahmad weren't really used to each other. Mbemo and Ahmad. So I just think it's natural. And if there are people that are Amorim out there, maybe they'll get proved right, and maybe you can tell us why you still are. Because the reason should still be the same, really, because nothing's actually changed apart from the players are starting to get used to playing with each other. Derek says that Amorim has said in a previous press conference a while back, he said the players would have to first understand the system, then it would start alternating in game. Exactly. Marlo says Amorim's system requires consistency and good relationships. That's probably why we see a big drop off with the subs, and it makes Amorim's system a bit vulnerable in case of injuries. I mean, I think that's probably comment of the day, to be honest with you. I think you're absolutely spot on with that, because I do think that there is there was a drop off at the weekend, but I think I'm correct in saying that we've had that drop off for quite a while in relation to substitutions. Just on Scott McTominay, by the way, I saw this morning that Spurs are looking at McTominay. We were talking about him a couple of days ago coming back to the Premier League, whether we'd bring him back, but apparently Spurs are looking at him. I mean, look, I said there'd be a lot of clubs. If McTominay's looking to come back from Naples, there'll be a lot of clubs looking at Scott McTominay. I don't think he suits us. I really don't think he suits us, and I don't think we should go back. But he is a good player, and it wouldn't surprise me if it happened. The squad players are a lot lower quality than the main team, says Neon. I think we can learn a lot from Arsenal. It's interesting because I think I had it here actually. I've got it up here anyway. So if anybody wants any in the last few minutes of the show, I can give it you. But I've got all the Y Scout stuff up here. But you know what? It makes me laugh that people scrutinise that Man United are being really direct. So, possession against Arsenal, we had 62%, and Arsenal had 38%, which is not massively dissimilar to what happened when we played against Arsenal, Liverpool. But let me just show you this as well. Let me read you this out as well. Because I do think that there are similarities between Manchester United and Arsenal in relation to how we need to build as well. Maybe not stylistically, but I think that when I look at this Manchester United side, it's a lot better than it was last season. We can all see that. But we can't run before we can walk. And Arsenal, I could see what Arteta was trying to do at Arsenal before Arsenal fans could. Not all Arsenal fans, but, you know, like the Arteta out, print the T-shirts crew. They couldn't really seem to see what Arteta was trying to do. He was trying to take a club that was in ruins and rebuild it. And at the start, he sort of did things to try and survive. Like, they played quite defensive. He's always kept that defensive element to his game. Throughout his whole time, Arsenal have been a very good defensive side, but he built out to a team that can score goals and dominate possession. And it took him time. And I think it's only, I personally think the Arsenal Arteta build is only this season complete. And he'll keep adding things to it. But up until the summer, he didn't have a striker. Up until this summer, he didn't really have depth that if Saka gets injured, you can play Madueke. If Odegaard gets injured, you can play Eze. If Saliba gets injured, you can play Mascara. And they've got Hincapié and they've got Kepa in goal. They've got an amazing squad. And he's built it gradually. Whilst being able to be competitive. So when we look at the drop-off when Man United make subs, well, that shouldn't be surprising when you look at the first team. I don't like the midfielder, Bruno and Casemiro. It can do a job, but it's not a good midfield. The low at left wing back, I do not like that. So our first team isn't complete. So we can't moan about the bench. Like, the bench isn't. I think there's some good players on our bench. Do they suit the system? You know, you look at the bench on Saturday, question mark over Manu, question mark over Xerxes. Mazraoui being back from injury is a good thing, and I like Mazraoui. There's a few youngsters on there that we can build with, but we're a long way off from being that finished article. I mean, I still look at Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea and Arsenal and I go, wow, you know, the expenditure, the squad, it's incredible. I don't think we've even got a first 11 yet. And we need to build the bench. So, you know, it has to be, I do look at Arsenal and I go, what can we achieve over the next 3 years that makes it really exciting and competitive, whilst also understanding that we're building? But you can't miss opportunities either. You can't miss a January transfer window and say we're building. You have to build. You can't say I'm working on this project, but I'm taking Monday off. Like, we've got to build in January. But there is a lot of work to be done at Manchester United, where patience will be key. But you know what funds patience? Performance and results. Onana couldn't catch the ball or command his area or stop shots. Nothing to do with your teammates or analysing, just bad goalkeeping. Ray, Carl, Brown, Amore. It's Amore. He's a legend and he's absolutely spot on. I agree on the opinion that we shouldn't be content, says Alfie Jordan. Dave the Brave says we need a Sabitzer type deal, different outcome but same intention. For the record, I would take Gibbs White. Or for the record, looking at what Gibbs White's been saying about us this morning, I think Gibbs White would take Manchester United. You know, I'm not even joking there. I'm not. But yeah, no, I think you're right about the Sabitzer thing. We need to bring in somebody that can make a difference to Manchester United in this window, and somebody with a bit of hunger, a bit of experience. I like the Conor Gallagher one. I don't really care if I'm, you know, alone on that one. I do like the idea of that one a lot. Great show this morning, by the way. I love the debates. And contrary to that Pratt saying that, you know, we're trying to out Amorim outers, absolutely not. It's never been like that. You know, we can disagree and stuff, but I think a year ago I said something I apologise for, and I was wrong. You see, I do apologise, and I do say I'm wrong. There's a couple of times it's happened. I mean, the worst show ever was when Marcus Rashford went out in Belfast and we were live and it came out and I was like, absolutely not. This is false information. It's not true. And everyone was saying it's true. It's true. And I was like, shut up. You're wrong. And I was wrong. And also a year ago, I basically said, if you were Ten Hag out, you're not a real United fan. And I was wrong about that and I had to apologise. So I will apologise when I'm wrong and I'm more than happy to accept it. And I think sometimes it's a bit like, you know, fasting from sugar for a week. It cleanses the soul. And I think sometimes apologising and accepting you're wrong could be a real positive for you, because it makes you, you know, it cleanses the soul. And but with Amorim outers, I don't feel like that anyway. I don't feel like Amorim outers are not real fans or anything like that. I don't think we hear much from them at the moment. But you are very welcome here, and you know, I don't think, to be honest with you, I think people would enjoy the conversation with you, because I think that we're really positive at the moment, but we're also probably very wary that in a month's time it wouldn't surprise us if we were back saying, you know, this ain't going to work. It just feels like United, we're still very balanced. I'm quite positive. I think we are moving in the right direction, but I still feel like, you know, what was being said 3 weeks ago can't be completely wrong. There is still, you know, you felt it at 3-2 against Brighton. Were they going to get an equaliser and that game was going to get blown away? You felt it with Gakpo on the back post when he missed that sitter, and you know, it would have been a draw. So what I'm hoping is that these wins we're getting, where there are those moments where you go, oh, maybe they'll become less and less the more games we win. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that it would also, I think it would also be weird if we had this huge Amorim's not the guy movement, and then we win a couple of games and everybody's like, Amorim is the guy. I mean, that's the definition of Pancake FC flip-flop. Should we not think in terms of a midfield pair, says Hush? Yes, but I don't think we'll get two in January. So what I want to see happen is I'd like to see a Conor Gallagher coming in January on a loan to buy. And then in the summer, if he does well, you buy him and then you buy your main midfielder. So yeah, two midfielders, definitely. Wouldn't last results season matter if Southgate was hired instead of hunting down Amorim outers? You respect all opinions. I don't know what you're talking about. Who is this person? Wouldn't last results season matter? Mate, you need to learn to type. Mate, there is so many things you could put that into and say, please make this make sense, rather than typing that. I don't know what you're talking about. And as I said, nobody's targeting anybody. I agree on the opinion that we shouldn't be content. Also, Seth with the super chat says, yes, for real Gallagher, but in the summer the worry is Bruno. If he remains, do you see the idiots above going for those shortlisted names? Also, Dorgu not getting ahead of the low with the worst player is worrying, says Seth. There's a weird thing about Dorgu. There is forget Amorim outers, I ain't got a problem with them, but I have got a problem with these people. There is a weird set of people in our fan base that never liked Dorgu. Like, they never liked him. They were calling him shit in February. Like, and I don't care what anybody says. I will sit on the hill and say this. There are people in our fan base that do not like Dorgu, and I do not get it. Explain it, what it is about Dorgu that people look at him and go, I don't like him. It's weird. It's really weird. It's well known before he even got linked to Manchester United that he was one of those up-and-coming players that had the potential to be really, really good. You know, Football Manager, FC25, bloody hipster articles. Dorgu was 100% a player that was one to watch before Man United even started talking to him. Comes to Manchester United and instantly some people are like, he's a bag of shit. He's a load of rubbish. And I don't get it. I really can see the power he has. He's only just turned 21. You can see how powerful he is. You can see he's still quite raw, but he's only just 21. He's only been in the Premier League for, 7-8 months, and it's been very demanding. But I can already see from the end of last season to the start of this season, huge improvement. And he is on a graph moving up. So why are people trying to knock him down? I don't get it. Not the finished article. He's going to be in and out of the team. But Amorim signed this signing off as well. He's not some inherited bag of shit from Ten Hag. This is an Amorim signing that some people in our fan base just seem to want to, you know, ridicule and write off. Like, he's 21 just, and he's an Amorim signing, and he will get developed the same as Leon. I think Dorgu will be a really important player for us, but I don't get what people's issue is with him. It's a bit like Agate at the start. I understand why people are questioning Agate now, a year down the line. It's, you know, we spent a lot of money on you. You're in your mid-20s. You need to step up. But Dorgu's not even been here a year. He's an Amorim signing. He's a young player. And people want to write him off. And I just don't get that mentality. I I think I'll get proved right on Dorgu. I think he's a good player. I really do. I think I will. Similar to Luke Shaw, a lot of people were slagging him off. He ended up being a really good player for a couple of years. Thank you very much. Dorgu suffers from what Delit suffers hate-wise, says Jacob. It is weird. Emily Derry says, it would be weird if we went from diabolical last season to current form without a few fine margin moments, which makes it more important to get a midfielder in January like Gallagher, says Emily Derry. Thank you very much, Emily. Phil Houseby says, would take Gallagher in January and get a left footer in the summer. Belabour or Wharton for me, says Phil. Thanks very much, Phil. Appreciate that. Another fantastic show this morning. I think the 10 a.m. show is starting to compete with the 8 p.m. show, which has been brilliant this week as well. So second good 10 a.m. show in a row. Thanks everyone for tuning in as always. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. I'm actually on Terry's show at 11 o'clock this morning. I was meant to go on yesterday, but project manager Kitchen Bridge has been busy. But I am going to pop on there for half an hour at 11 a.m. for his hot take show. It's Carabao Cup watch along night tonight on That's Football. So I will be live at 7 o'clock tonight on United Stand instead of 8 o'clock, just letting you know. But back tomorrow at 8 o'clock as well for the live preview of Forest. Ooh, the weeks fly by, don't they? Now, everyone said the weeks are going to go really slow. They fly by. Absolutely fly by. You're all a bunch of legends. Thanks everybody this morning. Back in the studio tonight as well. Got to go and sort out this kit. I think I'm just going to get 3 different splashbacks and throw spaghetti bolognese at it and test it out. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Put a smile on your face. I'll speak to you in a bit.